Knitting in the round can seem strange and even scary, but it's surprisingly simple. Here's how to get started, step by step. But first, if you are used to knitting with straight needles, watch my Knit Flat with Circulars video first. Once you see how alike straights and circulars are, moving on to knitting in the round is easy. That video link should be on screen now, or it's in the description below. The easiest way to knit in the round is with a circular needle that's shorter than the circumference of what you're knitting. So you use a 16-inch circular to knit a hat or a sleeve, but a longer 24 to 32-inch circular for the body of a sweater. I'm using a 16-inch or 40cm circular here. Using a short circular with at least 5mm tips is ideal for beginners, as there are not too many stitches. Plus, you can knit a quick and easy worsted or chunky hat as you learn. Let's get started knitting in the round. First, cast on your stitches using the long tail cast on. This is easiest for beginners, but you can knit in the round with any cast on. Holding one circular needle tip in your right hand, do the long tail cast on the same way as with the straight needle. Just move the stitches down along the cable cord as your tip fills up. Fill your circular needle with plenty of stitches. If your stitches are stretching to reach the tips, add some more. You want your needle full of stitches. I've cast on around 70 stitches with chunky yarn and 6mm needles here. With worsted yarn, cast on about 80 stitches, or follow any basic hat pattern. Before you join to knit in the round, check your cast on is laying flat without any twists, with all stitches facing the same way. The long tail cast on doesn't tend to twist round, which helps, but with a lot of stitches you might have a few kinks. So run your hand along the needle, turning bits if needed so that your cast on lays flat. Now, lay your needle down with the stitches close to both tips and the bumpy or wrong side of the cast on facing you. The yarn tail and ball are on the right side and the working yarn is facing upwards. Pick up the right needle tip with your right hand and the left tip with your left hand and point the tips at each other so your needle makes a circle shape behind. Let your yarn tail hang down at the front and check that the working yarn is behind. Now it's finally time to join in the round. All we need to do is knit the first stitch on the left tip, moving it across to the right tip beside the last stitch. It's that simple. So, with your stitches close to both tips and holding your yarn as usual, you just put your right tip into the first stitch on your left tip and knit it as usual. Gently pull both your yarn tail and your working yarn to snug up the first stitch and minimise the gap. Now just knit your second stitch as usual. And a couple more stitches. So you have your cast on stitches on the right, your yarn tail, and now your first 4 knit stitches. That's the joining done, and you have a circle of stitches instead of a line. You're now knitting in the round. Yay! So just keep knitting as usual until you come back to your yarn tail, which marks the end of your first round. You'll have a small gap between your first and last stitch. Don't stress about this. Pulling your yarn tail can tighten it up a bit, but it will neaten up after a few rounds. You can place a stitch marker here to make the end of the round easy to see. Or you can just use your yarn tail by passing it through between your needles after each round. To start your second round, just keep knitting. After a few stitches, you'll notice the bottom edges don't line up. That's because the start of the round has an extra row of stitches than the end. Don't worry about this. It looks a bit wonky now, but it will look much better once you knit more rounds. You can barely see it on this work in progress hat. It's also normal for your circle to look a bit bumpy and twisted for the first few rounds. It's worth having a quick check round just to make sure there are no actual twists, but that's unlikely if you used a long tail cast on and checked before you joined. Again, this will all sort itself out once you knit more rounds. You always work on the right side when knitting in the round. So stockinette is easy peasy. You just knit every stitch with no purls at all. You'll usually start patterns with rib stitch though. Most hats are knit from the bottom up, with ribbing first for a good fit. The good news is that you join in the round the same way for all stitch types. Let's look at joining in the round with knit 1, purl 1 rib, as that's the most common. Start by casting on an even number of stitches. Knit into the first stitch on the left tip with your right tip, just like before. For 1 by 1 ribbing, the second stitch is a purl stitch instead of a knit stitch. So bring the yarn forward and go into the next stitch on the left tip from right to left and do a purl stitch in the usual way. Take your yarn to the back again and knit into the third stitch. Then bring your yarn to the front again and purl the fourth stitch. You can see the alternating knit and purl stitches here after 6 stitches. Continue in this basic rib pattern, knitting 1 stitch and purling the next, until you get back to your yarn tail that marks the end of round 1. The last stitch in the round is a purl stitch. You can pull the yarn tail to neaten it up and place a marker to help see the end of the round if you like. Every round repeats the same 1 by 1 rib pattern set in round 1. So with your yarn at the back, you knit the first stitch in round 2. Then you bring your yarn forward and purl the next stitch, just like in round 1. From round 2 on, you just keep knitting every knit stitch and purling the purl stitches. Nice and easy. Here you can see the first round of rib on the right before the marker and the taller 2 rounds of rib stitches on the left. I hope this video helps you give knitting in the round a go. Got any questions? Just comment below. Thanks for watching.